say just as an introduction, I am Maeve, and I am an American citizen who was born in Scotland and has an Irish name. An Irish name. And you'll have to forgive the English accent. Okay, I do belong to this generation, although I wasn't born until 1928, because I was born of a father who fought in World War I, and a great many of my generation were. And I lived through World War II, and that has colored the way I look at things. And I think that is what basically Charles is getting at. I think my generation want to know that whatever we get involved in has got real meaning, real worth, and real rewards. Okay. There are 4 basic issues that he wanted me to talk about. And the first one is, what is the best way to solicit me to be a pledger within my church? And I think that there are several things about that. The first would be that I like the appeal to be made directly to me personally by somebody, preferably somebody who knows something about my relationship to the church that we are trying to support. I think that's very important. The other thing I would like to just mention, because I also think it's important, and that is that a great many of my generation don't necessarily know a lot about planned giving. It wasn't something that really took place in my earlier years. And I think that is something that if we're lucky enough to get a personal visit from somebody who's going to be talking to us about fundraising, that is something that's brought up, not as this is something we want you to do, because that's not something anybody should assume for anybody else, but as an informational topic of conversation, because in fact there are benefits not only to the institution but to the donor. And that is what can really be helpful to somebody of my generation to hear. So that is the important things. One is that the contact should be a personal one, and that, yes, indeed, planned giving should be discussed, but as an informational conversation, not necessarily as this is something we want you to do, because, as I say, not a good idea. The second one is on how to thank us. And I personally feel that most of us would like to have the thanks really just a written letter, personal letter, written, handwritten, from somebody thanking us for what we've done. I think that gifts of that sort of thing are really not on, because I know that when I get fundraising letters and they say if I give this much I'm going to get a bag or a this, that, or the other, I don't want to give to those people, you know? So if they've got the money to give presents out, I don't want anything to do with them. And I think that in a church which is based on relationships, what you want is something personal, and again, not by email. Personal handwritten letter is all I would ever want as a thank you. The other thing is that if in fact the rector was the person who was going to be in contact with it, I think that it's important that the rector doesn't appear to know exactly how much we've pledged. Most people don't like that. And so a great many rectors would rather not know what individuals pledged. It makes it easier for them. The third issue is how to communicate. And I honestly believe that my generation looks for clear, comprehensive communication, preferably written, covering all aspects relating to the church. And I mean all aspects. We want to know how much is being spent on providing us with the staff who's going to make our work possible, how much is spent on maintenance, etc. But even more important is how much we are devoting to the work of Christ in the world. That is what we want to know. We want to know what is being done in mission and how it is working. If we have a individual support group going, we want to know how many people are being served by that, and we also really want to know what's being planned for the future? That is what's going to make me and a great many of my generation feel that what we're getting is being appropriately used, and we want to support the institution. And then the last one that he wanted me to talk about, and it won't take more than 60 seconds, is how to use the GI generation. And I think I want simply to say it's very easy for my generation to feel that they are being overlooked or devalued. And that is because we may not have the energy we used to have and whatever, but it's really quite easy to help the GI generation feel valued and part of the community, because there are so many things that the older person can do which the younger people don't have the time to. It could be a telephone chain, it could be the prayer group, and particularly if that is something that you get constant information about, who to pray for. Okay, thank you so much for listening.